process for sure.
I feel bad wearing my hat backwards, but I notice when I wear it forward, it like shades my face, so nobody can
you're good.
see
Matter
here.
of fact, man, I noticed you wore snapbacks. I brought you one.
Dude, I love snapbacks.
I'm gonna let you pick your color, and then
Woo!
I brought a little bit of swag. You can do a giveaway if you want.
Yes. Well, I think it's a good time to actually start. What's up, everybody? So we got Dave Nelson here with the Nelson Real Estate Group. Man, I love that gray. I love gray and black, dude.
I'm with you.
I'm going to go black, sir.
Sweet. You can give
Look
these,
at that,
You
folks.
can give these two away to lucky winner. Got a couple mugs and coffee mug in here and stuff, too. So.
Nice. How you been, brother?
Been good, man. Good. I didn't sleep super well last night, so I'm going to try not to be a dud.
Because you were so worried. You're so stressed on
There
this
might have
popular
been
podcast. Like, millions of people are going to listen to you.
I know, man. There might have been a level of subconscious anxiety going on.
Oh, man. Dude, I hear you. The sleep thing, dude, I sleep like crap.
Do you?
I do. My mind, like my day is so busy, right? So I got everything going on, and I try giving 100% of that. By the time nighttime runs around, I'll start. Let me give you a perfect example. Last night at like 10 o'clock, I get on my phone. Social media is blowing up with people charging the Capitol.
Yeah.
I see all this like Trumpster this, and like, I'm like, what's going on?
Armageddon.
I totally missed it, bro. And I felt so good, actually. And I had to catch myself up. But I was like, this is more of what I need in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That thing could have derailed me. I seen messages and stuff where people were going all day, back and forth, just hating on each other.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm so glad I was so busy focusing on things I need to get done in my life that I wasn't messing around with that jazz. And I'm not saying that the election and this stuff, that it's not important. But for me personally, like I did my due diligence voting, and I closed the door.
Rest is out of your control, man. I hear you, man. So when we're having team meetings and stuff, I call that the fog. Any external influence that we can't control that comes in and prevents us from doing the one thing that we can control, right?
Yeah.
Going out, getting business, building relationships, and serving. And so we preach about that all the time. Like, don't let the fog control you. I mean, it's good to stay up to date, educated, and all that. Well, while we're talking about that, did you see that meme that said it was like 2021 handing 2020 a beer, and it's like, here, hold my beer.
No, but that's freaking awesome,
yeah,
dude.
I thought so too.
I like the one that was like, officially hindsight's 2020.
Oh yeah,
that kind of put it into perspective for me too. But man, I think 2020 was, I mean, yeah, it was different, but I'm a huge advocate of like evolving, right? And I think we do pretty well as humans in general to adapt to our circumstances and to our environment. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I've had to work from home since March. Mm-hmm. Haven't been back to my office.
That's got to be tough.
But yeah, I've been able to, I'm like, hey, let's start a podcast. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I kept moving. I'm like, I got to keep moving in the right direction, whatever that is. And then, so I don't know. My advice is don't let this election and all this turmoil just distract you. I love what you're talking about there, like with the fog, because it's easy to get wrapped into, right?
Oh, so easy. So easy. You know, we talked about this before we jumped on, just action. Just simply taking action on anything is like the best cure for anything, right? I mean, and no, I love that about you. So good to see you again, man.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, you too. So what's going on in the real estate market, dude? Because I'll tell you, my house, I bought this house that we're in right now. I bought it in March of 2016. And I can't believe how much it's worth right now.
It's insane. It's insane. It's scary a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
It is a little.
I feel like, 2 years ago, I felt like the bottom should have dropped out. It tends to go on a 7 to 10 year cycle. And I feel like we probably hit that expiration date already. What's driving it? Obviously, out-of-state demand. Idaho Falls, Idaho in general has hit the map. And a lot of the out-of-state clients that we talk to, they're trying to get away from their politics. So they're coming this way. But just a quick snapshot on stats, if you're okay.
Yeah, I would love that, man, because I think the audience needs that. And in like the someday thing, I mean, buying a house is a huge someday for people, whether they're wanting to invest in real estate or they're just wanting to buy a personal home, personal dwelling. And so, yeah, if you can talk to some of the stats in the market and what's going on, I mean, obviously, it's not going to apply. I mean, everybody listens to this. I got people in France and Russia and Canada and stuff. So obviously, it's kind of a local
Look
snapshot.
at you, man. All over the world.
Like all 2 or 3 downloads in Canada.
That's how our band album is.
Kind of scattered.
For some reason, Europe really likes us, like 3 people in Europe. No, so, and I'll make it quick. Nobody wants to sit here and drown in the statistics and data in the market. But last we checked, there's about 45 active homes on the market in all price ranges, Bonneville County. Okay. Now, to give you an example, that's normally, well, not normally, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, that was trending at about 500 to 600 available homes. So, I mean, our inventory is completely depleted, but it doesn't mean that homes haven't been hitting the market. So we're talking active inventory, right? Mm-hmm. So we've actually listed more inventory this year than we did last. It's just getting tied up a lot faster. Most people, I think, that keep their on the market know that homes just aren't lasting. So, wow. Yeah. And you know, it's crazy. You look at how many realtors we've got in our MLS, and I would venture to guess 550 to 600, maybe off by a little bit. So
is that the state of Idaho?
That's our MLS. So mostly Bonneville County and a couple other kind of rural areas. But
Holy
so almost,
cow.
550 agents, 40 something active listings. Average price range is probably trending at, I didn't check this morning, I would say like 315,000, which is up quite a bit. I think it was 259 the same time last year. Days on market to sell a home were probably, I don't know, right around 27 to 30. Could be off a couple days on that too, but super strong. And then the biggest thing is what we call our list to sell ratio. Mm-hmm. So that's on average, what are sellers getting out of their homes, right? And it's trending at about 101%. So almost every home is going for at least full price or a hair over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of, are they called bidding wars? Like where people are like, this, I could imagine if somebody's moving from out of state and then you had a local buyer as well. Mm-hmm. That person moving from out of state, their urgency might be a lot higher because they're like, I need to have somewhere to live. I start my job next month or whatever. Yeah. I'll give you 10 grand more than what this other person's. Mm-hmm. I mean, does it get that way around here?
It does. I would say 10 grand's probably a little bit on the ambitious side, but we've seen several get up there and some have gone 20 over. Typically we'll see anywhere from, I don't know, $2,000 to $7,000 over list price, maybe 3 to 4 offers on the table. But there's certainly been those listings that you just don't know how popular they're going to be. You get 10 offers and they can go 20 or 30 over, and then you're worried about the appraisal coming in,
Yeah, because if it doesn't appraise for that, then it's
somebody
has to bring a lot of cash.
Somebody's got to bring cash. Seller's got to come down, or the deal could fail.
So it sounds like you got a low. So the inventory is low, but interest rates are freaking bomb.
That's what's crazy about it, man.
It's like you got historical low. And I was reading. I can't remember what the article I was reading. But I like to keep myself somewhat in the know with the market because I'm trying to like kind of segue what's my next move with my house. But yeah, they were almost anticipating or projecting that interest rates were going to go down even just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so as long as like the Fed keep that interest rate low, then the demand's going to be high.
That's right.
And then they were saying something about like it's so low of inventory, so that makes it challenging on agents. And then the builders, apparently builders just can't keep up. Like it's a dream for them, right? Because they're just like, whatever I build, I can sell.
Right. Well, and this is just hearsay. I mean, I haven't spoke with like Rockwell, for instance, our biggest volume-based builder in the area. Last I talked to one of my agents that was representing a buyer on a new build. He said, if you walk through Rockwell's door right now and pick out a foundation, that's being poured, or just try to do a custom build with them, you're almost a year out. And that's insane. And I venture to guess, and I think a lot of people in our office would say, it's because we have a lack of skilled labor right now. They're just having a hard time finding, not Rockwell specifically, but anybody that's wanting to get into the construction industry is having a hard time finding framers, plumbers. I mean, if you've tried to get your house remodeled.
Yeah, which a lot of people probably have during the
so tough
pandemic.
To find somebody. Yeah.
Dude, that's so true. In fact, a good buddy of mine, we were just talking about this the other day, was like how valuable trade work is right now. Mm-hmm. Because we've all kind of made this shift, probably a lot of our generation actually, where we grew up kind of more hands-on doing jobs, and like our dads and grandfathers, they all did trade work. But then we were kind of the first generation where it was like, hey, here comes the computers, here comes the internet, here comes all this stuff. And it really like streamlined the work, because I went from framing houses to selling cell phones and internet.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I was like, man, you're making $8 an hour framing houses back then. It's like, that's hard to get out of your parents' house on.
I hear you.
So,
dude, I'll tell you, if my kids were as good at actually building as they are on like Minecraft and some of the video games, I mean, we'd have the Taj Mahal right now, right?
So true, man. I have a tough time with my kids right now. My oldest, he's like an athletic nut, which is fantastic, but he's so wrapped up in this damn Fortnite game.
Yeah.
Bro, and it's like, he showed it to me, and so I got addicted for like a week, and I'm like, I can't do this. But I have to literally just constantly pull the reins back on him.
Yeah.
Because he's losing focus on his sports and stuff, and it's like, man, I want him to be a kid, but at the same time, I want him to, get out there and do something more constructive.
Right.
But then he's like, well, Dad, guys make millions of dollars playing video games now.
My son and I had the same talk years ago.
Dude,
absolutely.
why are you smart? And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to explain it. That's a very, very small percentage. A very small percentage of kids are out there doing that.
And that's major success or massive success in any industry, right? I mean, there's a small percentage that actually rise to the top.
Yeah, we were just talking about that actually a little bit before we got on air. I was asking you about the turnover with real estate agents. So I was reading, I think I was saying like 76 to 86%. They kind of had an average there of real estate agent turnover. And I thought the insurance agent world that I come from, I thought that turnover was high, but it's more like 65%.
Right. And you're probably not too far off on that stat. I don't know exactly what it is, but it does feel like a little bit of a revolving door. And I have heard that, like 80 to 90% of agents after their first year, they realize, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and they get out. This just made me think, though, with insurance, do you think it's because you guys continue, after you write the deal, you continue to make some sort of
like a retention,
or dividend,
or like a renewal commission.
Right?
On
Do you think
yeah.
that's wise because they know kind of it's the long game getting into insurance, so they're willing to put a little bit more time into it?
It could be. A lot of the insurance industry is, I mean, it's so competitive, and obviously the real estate. I mean, those numbers you were telling me about how many agents. I mean, it's competitive for sure. It's kind of tough. I think people last about 2 or 3 years, and then that's really because the motivation, right? Like people come out of the gate and they're super motivated, but then adversity starts hitting, and that's really where you see the turnoff.
Right.
That's kind of the cliff's edge, so to speak, is when you have low months, and you know how it goes with sales and consulting is it's ebb and flow, and it's just some people are not willing to kind of hustle through that adversity. And this is why I talk a lot about fortitude. Like fortitude is one of my favorite words because it's something that when I sample size my life, like I can stamp it with fortitude. Like that's the only way I was able to get to where I'm at now. And I think a lot of people lack that, unfortunately. And you get a lot of college kids that come out and they come work for a Fortune 100 company. And here's a weird thing, dude, is they don't teach you how to sell in college. They don't teach you how to market in college.
Right.
Like they don't teach you they teach you like the analytics of it if you take a marketing class, but they don't teach you how to close a deal.
Right. It's just like school. They don't teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to manage a credit score. You know what I mean? And same with real estate school, to be honest with you. I mean, they taught you a lot of the legalities, contracts, how not to get sued, how to stay out of trouble.
How to protect us.
Yeah, but didn't teach you how to go out and get business. And that's the most important part, for sure.
Yeah, isn't that funny, man? It's like you pay all this money. You pay thousands of dollars for college education, even real estate licenses, insurance licenses, doing the CEs all the time. I got to do CEs every 2 years and make sure that I renew my license. But there's not a whole lot of sales training on it.
Right.
It's kind of funny. But that is the biggest thing is like we have super smart, intelligent people that come to work for the company I'm with. But they just cannot figure their way through.
Yeah.
They overanalyze things. And then it just becomes this whole mind game for them, and it just gets overwhelming. And then they go find something where they'll make, $50,000 a year. Somebody will just give them that paycheck as long as they show up. So it's kind of funny because we talk about our similarities and how we're kind of wired very similar. And that's something that I've always been big on is with with somebody paying you money, like I feel like they're kind of telling you what you're worth instead of you going out and kind of developing your own worth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I've always liked the commission stuff. Like I feel like I get paid by how well I do and how much effort I put into it and how well my customer service is and things like that. I mean, I know just your reputation around here is, I mean, your customer service and what your team does, I mean, is phenomenal. And I'm not even in the real estate agent or the real estate market. That's just what I hear within the community.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad they're saying good
Why do you
things.
think that is? I mean, like, what do you kind of preach with your team? I mean,
Yeah.
how did that even get started? Just to back up a little bit, like, because you run a team now, but when you first started, I mean, what was it like, man? How did you even get into the real estate game? Let's
use a football analogy. I fumbled a lot, man. I fumbled my way through my entire career. No, that's a joke. I think it's so growing up, my dad, great dad, but just very high expectations, right? Not a lot of room for error. And I think in that email I sent you, that was like part of my driving success, but it was also my Achilles heel, right? So him and I became really close, actually, more in my 20s before he passed than we were, when I was a kid. But I've got to thank him because I think both my parents were they taught me two things. They taught me work ethic, how to save, and then they taught me to always be conscious of other people. And so, we talked about, we think way too much about what other people think about us, right?
Yep.
And I think that can be a really good thing, and it can also be a really bad thing. But for me, it was super implemental in starting my career because the thought of letting one of my clients down, like I couldn't bear it. It would keep me up at night. If I had made the simplest mistake, I was way, way hard on myself. And you never want to sit there and stew and go down that rabbit hole too long. But I think it's really important that if you mess up, you've got to internalize, right? You got to figure out where'd that come from, how did it happen, and how do I build a system that will prevent it from happening again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's kind of the core foundation for customer service for me.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the real estate game? What made you like, hey, I want to sell houses?
It's kind of accidental, man. I graduated 2000 from Hillcrest here, moved to Boise.
Okay.
I was in Boise State for a year, and just the thought of student loans scared me to death. I was an average student, so I didn't have any type of scholarship. So I think I racked up that first year. It was like $8,000 in student debt. And I was like, I can't 4 more years of this. Are you kidding me? Cause it probably would have taken me 5 to get a general.
Right.
But,
you come from the mindset, like you said, your parents are kind of teaching you how to save money and stuff. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, thousands of dollars that you're up against.
Yeah.
It made you a little nervous.
So I kind of bailed on school. Wish I would have finished, to be honest with you now.
Yeah.
Just because it was one thing in life that I feel like I failed at and never went back and accomplished. But anyway, so we'll fast forward a little bit. I could drag that on forever. Anyway, the girl I ended up dating in college, her dad was a real estate broker, and she was soon to be my long-term relationship. And so she kind of introduced me to her dad, and he talked a lot about real estate. I went out and got licensed. I think I was 21.
Wow.
And I was the worst realtor out there for probably, 5-10 years, man. And when I say worst, I just didn't know how to go get the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't doing anything. What I was doing was trying to find side hustles all the time to pay the bills instead of focusing on that one thing.
On that primary thing that could feed everything for you.
Yeah. And the mistake I made, I don't get me wrong. There's a lot of benefits and cool things that came from where the brokerage I signed up at. Mm-hmm. I didn't plug into a big brokerage with a ton of training and tools and, technology and education. And so once I made that change, then my world expanded.
Really?
Yeah.
Just opened it all up.
Yeah,
huh?
for sure.
So I never thought about that. As you're talking, I'm like, that makes sense. Like just having the right people around you. And it kind of ties into that retention. Do you think a lot of the retention for agents, why it's so high, is because they get lined up with bad, I hate the word bad, but maybe just like not all put together brokerages?
Yeah, I think that there's different styles of brokerages, and there's no bad one, like you said, but there's just different cultures, right?
Yeah.
I mean, brokerages, I've been with brokerages that were the best family atmosphere. I mean, we went out to lunch every day. We hung out together on the weekends. I loved my place of work, and I loved the people that I worked with. Yet I just wasn't getting what I needed to be wildly successful. And so, our brokerage right now, I'm with Keller Williams. A lot of people probably know that, but we're just that's where I needed to plug in for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I needed kind of that direction in order to go out and do the things necessary. So yeah, I think it's just a different cultures.
That makes sense. So you have a team of how are they broker agents or what are they?
Yeah, so we've got we've got 3 agents, and then we just onboarded a new one this week.
Wow.
And then I've got 2 administrative staff.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we've got a professional photographer.
Dude, that's so cool, man. So you are you kind of start out and things are not going necessarily how you want, but you're also not putting a lot of effort out there. You're just kind of like, hey, I have a real estate license. Let the business will come to me type mentality instead of going out there and figuring out how to go get it.
Well, what I was doing was I was calling out of the phone book, man.
Ooh,
yeah, so
I've been there.
That was rough, yeah. But you know, once you get a win, though, that's all you need is a win. Those wins keep you going, and
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Did you ever imagine your business? I mean, what you're creating now? Did you ever imagine?
No,
that's how it would go.
No, I still have to pinch myself all the time, man.
But dude, to credit to you though, I mean, because that stuff just doesn't happen on accident.
It does.
Like, what do you think? Just like, I know you're kind of a humble gentleman, and I really appreciate that. But just for my audience, I mean, what does it take to start at somebody that, you know, kind of where you are? When you look at that and you give yourself, if you had to analyze yourself, what are the characteristic traits, and what do you think it took to get to where you're at?
The unwillingness to fail. And you know, we've got a thing at Keller Williams. It's a training. It's a class. It's called BOLD. It's Building Objectives, a Life by Design. And one of the things that they tell us is nobody accomplishes mastery without boredom. And boredom is just doing the same thing over and over and over without getting immediate results. And I had a coach once tell me, Dave, if you can commit to doing this hard thing for 6 months, it's like compound interest. Your world will massively change in that 6-month timeline if you just commit to what I'm telling you to do. And the way that I had to talk myself into doing that was, where else can you go get an education that you can put 6 months of really hard and focused effort in and make 6 to 7 figures a year at the end of that 6 months or a year? And there's not really many places, right? I mean, you can't go to college and get that. So that's kind of how I had to put it in perspective for myself. Am I willing to commit this time? And what's crazy, man, is I wanted to quit 2 months in, 3 months in, 4 months in. My coach, I'm like, that coach's name was Jamie. He was out of Cincinnati, and he just like, dude, you gotta stay in it. And I mean, I was banging my head against a wall. I mean, I was going home and crying in the bathroom at night, because it's just not my natural style, is not to go out and sell. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm kind of, believe it or not, kind of an introvert. Yeah. A lot of people see me as this guy that's on stage playing music and out in the community selling real estate, but that's all trained. You know what I mean? And it's because that's the person I wanted to become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very similar in that regard. I'm like this mix between when I have to be turned on, I just think of myself as kind of like a microphone. Like, when the mic's off, there's nothing, you're not going to get anything out of that. It's going to be quiet, right? But when you turn it on, I mean, that's what makes, without that, I mean, nothing else works. So I've been very big on that same thing and that is a lot of training, because that is who I want to be. And I think people get this misconception when they're working in sales, especially if, you know, a lot of real estate agents maybe listen to this, or maybe somebody that's just, you know, aspiring to be an insurance or real estate agent, is you don't have to be this super enthusiastic. And I know we see a lot of like, hey, get out there and just be happy. I mean, I think there's a combination of stuff. It's just like, you know, use another football analogy, like the best quarterbacks, they're very mindful, their mentality and stuff. They're not built like a linebacker where a lot of physical ability is required to succeed. It's controlling the game, being mindful, being calm during the storm. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes the quarterback the highest paid player. Right. And I think you need to have more of that mindset when it comes to running a business or doing sales. Is you gotta analyze things, but you also can't be just like the quarterback. You can't be afraid to just sling that ball downfield, and understand that there is a percentage there of an interception. Right. But there's also the probability of getting a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to weigh those risks constantly. man, it's just crazy hearing your story because it just mirrors how my insurance career went.
Yeah.
Man, because it kind of breaks you down. But the one thing that you and I both haven't done is we haven't given up.
Right.
And I think that's the only way I've been able to do this for 12 years.
Right.
That's the only way I was able to break through the 6-figure number, because they sell a lot of it. A lot of like when you get started in these businesses, I mean, there's some salesmanship there. You're like, hey, you can make this X amount of money, think about the freedom of your job. And so there's recruiters and stuff like that. They're obviously trying to, get employees, right?
Right.
And
I think it's awesome though that the direct level of the effort that you put in can be measured. No, that's not the way it goes. Can't remember the saying, but basically we influence how much money we want to make, right? Mm-hmm. By the effort we put in. So if I take my foot off the pedal, I know that 6 months from now, it's it's going to hurt a little bit. And if I lay into it heavier, I know it's going to just wildly change our goals, our vision, our life. And so why wouldn't I go this direction?
No kidding.
But I think there's got to be purpose for sure, purpose in everything that you do. Because, man, I was just like a rabbit all over the place for the longest time, chasing all these things that I thought would work. Because like you said, man, you've got so many companies and businesses that are hitting you from all angles, and they're all trying to sell something to you. This is going to make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
Right? And rarely is that the case. Rarely. I mean, you've just got to put the effort in. You got to refuse to fail. And, well, no, that's not – I take that back. You're going to fail a ton. You're going to fail a ton, but just to keep moving forward. We've got this this quote that I read, and it stuck with me for years. But success isn't easy, but it is simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a quote similar to that, but it's a golfer in my bathroom down here is all like this golf stuff. But it says it's like the hard game that's easy to play.
Yeah, love it.
And it's like, yep. I mean, it just resonated with me. I'm like,
for sure.
That's so true, man. And I think that's life in general, man. Because we can't, and this is like my whole ambition here right now in the podcast and the next journey that I'm doing in my life with, being a success coach and helping people just kind of close that gap from where they're at now to where they want to be. I feel like I can fill that gap for them or help them. And what I've noticed and working with some clients is that they've set so many mental traps for themselves. And we were talking about it before we started recording about the imposter syndrome,
right? Where
you just feel like you're not qualified to do it. What's somebody going to think about me? Am I saying the right thing?
Yeah.
And I think social media, honestly, and the internet has created this bubble of this mentality of that we're so worried about comparing ourselves to what's out there that we're not focusing on what we should be doing.
So true.
And I think this is also what leads to depression and anxiety disorders is that you see all this. It's like, I don't know. It's like seeing the best of everything all the time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think our brains can handle that, honestly.
It's comparing your insides to other people's outsides. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that sucks about that is, you look at somebody that's really got their stuff together. And by the way, most people that have their stuff together that at a high level that I've talked to or that I'm in events with, they'll be the first to admit they're a mess.
We're crazy.
We're all kind of our own mess inside, but you look at what they've got, what they've accomplished, but you don't see how deep the roots go, right? I mean, most trees that we see are so high, but the root systems go so much deeper. And that's what it took to even break through the surface of the soil, So
true, man. So true. So how did you go from real estate agent, having a successful business? How did you get into creating a band? Indie rock band, right? I mean,
yeah.
You guys are one of the most popular bands around here.
We've since gone kind of country. Dude, so I started playing guitar at 2021, kind of self-taught. I met a buddy that I worked with at Office Max in Boise, and he played, and I was like, man, I want to do that. So my girlfriend at the time, her and I went to a Guitar Center, and we picked one up, and I just, started kind of watching. I think MTV was still on back in those days.
Dude, yeah.
So I would watch like the live videos and pause the TV or like take some sort of a shot of where they were putting their fingers and kind of taught myself that way. So between this buddy and just kind of watching just online tutorials and stuff, kind got playing guitar. And for me, it was a huge outlet that I needed that I didn't even know. I didn't have a clue that I was even musically inclined. I thought that stuff hit you at a younger age. You know what I mean? Here I am out of the house and
going into adulthood and stuff. And you're like,
and all of a sudden I find the guitar, like it's just crazy to me. So, but anyway, it was something I really needed. It was a zen. It was my church. It was, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, had a fair level of depression, and music helped me kind of escape that. But in the same sense, I was playing a lot of like indie grunge, you know, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and that kind of stuff. It's great music, but there is a dark tone to it. Alice in Chains. Sure. So as much as that was kind of saving me from that, it was kind of taking me even further into it. But I loved it, and I practiced, man, I would guess at least 30 minutes to an hour every day for 10 years. And I should be a heck of a lot better because I never took lessons. But anyway, so moved to Idaho Falls, and I was like, you know what, man, I love doing this. I'm going to put some ads on Craigslist. I'm going to see if I can find somebody to start a band with. And it took a long time. I played with a lot of people that just didn't work out, and I ended up finding these two guys that were punk rockers. And they were just cool guys. You know, we had a lot of fun. And so we started playing punk rock together. But that was not my thing.
That wasn't your jam.
No, I wasn't a good, like, Ramones player by any means. I was the acoustic guitar guy, singer-songwriter. And so anyway, we had fun. I was just like, guys, I just don't know that we're going to get a lot of gigs. And I wanted to play in front of people because it was like one of my biggest fears was public speaking and being in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And I knew that was one of the things I had to tackle. So anyway, came back after, I don't know, a few months. They called me up and they said, dude, we want you back. Come back. So we put a set list together. We started booking gigs. Well, the audience was saying, you guys have this weird, like, country sound to you. You ever thought about playing country music? And I hated country music when I was younger. Hated it, man. But Brittany, my fiance, she loves it. And so she kind of got me into it a little bit. So we started playing a country song here and there. And those were the songs the crowd started really jiving with. So then we kind of went rock, country, southern rock, I don't know what to call it. But yeah, since then I've built a pretty decent name, brought a couple other guys on, and our lead guitarist, Ryan Belaine, he's a metalhead.
Okay.
Yeah, so we had two punk rockers, a metalhead, and then a like Jack Johnson / grunge rocker. Yeah.
Dude, that's a good mix right there. Those are like I'm actually gonna have a buddy of mine, he lives in California, but he is a lead vocalist in a metal band.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like rah, 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 screaming and stuff, right? And we actually recorded the podcast via Zoom, and my computer died, his phone died, and this mess. So we got to record it. Yeah, but he was telling me about how challenging it was in the music industry. And he was talking to me about metal music and stuff, because that's something that I don't really listen to, you know, like the closest to metal. Like one of my favorite bands of all time is Rage Against the Machine.
Okay, yeah, I dig Rage.
And of course, then you got your Metallicas and stuff like that. 3
like
Days
Tool.
Grace, Breaking Benjamin, Tool.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all stuff that I like, but I've always been a country guy. I smile right now because I had this conversation. I'm going to I'm not going to switch topics, but this just reminded me. I was having this conversation about country and hip hop, and because my son's 10. So I introduced him I had to talk to him about Biggie and Tupac.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no kidding.
He saw me watching this documentary on Netflix, which is awesome. It's like this unsolved crimes thing. And I know they've redone it, but this one they have like up-to-date actors and stuff in it. It's really cool. But I don't know. Were you kind of into that too? Like, remember when Tupac came out, like California Love, and that music video was on MTV?
CDs, man. Yeah,
and
I got
Biggie and stuff.
And yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Dre and Snoop, and like, so it's funny because that was kind of the age where my son is now that I got hooked onto that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I grew up on a ranch. So my dad, I remember having a poster of Tupac in my freaking bedroom.
Right.
Dude, and I'm living on a ranch.
How'd your old man like that?
He hated it, dude. He hated it. Like, that's just not where they came from. He comes from like Carpenters and, you know, Fleetwood Mac and stuff, right? Which is great music, but I didn't realize that until I was older.
Right.
But it's just funny because I had this conversation with my son and I had to educate him on like this hip hop stuff, because now, like, when we're driving in my truck, I have XM radio. And so he's like going through the dial all the time, right? And some of the stuff that I hear, I'm like, what is this, dude?
I'm with you, man.
Like, what is this?
It's all like synthed music that heard one the other day. Sorry to cut you off, but it was, the chorus was Watermelon Sugar.
Watermelon Sugar High?
What is that even about?
I don't know. Is it like watermelon sugar like gives you a high, or is it like watermelon sugar high. I don't know,
it's
dude.
probably not about watermelon sugar, but
then that thing gets millions of views, and I'm
yeah.
like, this is when I know I'm getting old.
Yeah.
This is when I'm starting to turn into my old man. I'm starting to like go against the grain a little bit. But I try to stay hip and up to date with culture and stuff so I can relate with my kids.
Sure.
You know, because if I don't know what they're doing, and I think this is where my parents kind of went wrong, is that they shut it off completely and they didn't want to know what I was doing.
Right.
But that also allowed me to do whatever the hell I wanted to do.
Yep.
And it kind of maybe misled me. If they would have maybe educated me more on that, maybe I wouldn't have made some of the mistakes I did.
Sure.
But so yeah, I try to stay relevant with my kids, and it's fun to kind of mess around with them. But I wanted to get to the country thing because I freaking love country, and I like country now today more so because I feel like this the one genre where you can put a little bit of kind of like a hip hop type thing into it. With a little bit of rock and stuff. Like, it's not as twangy and stuff like it used to be.
I'm with you.
I love it. Like, listening to you guys' stuff. I was trying to remember where I was at the last time that I listened to you guys live.
It wasn't last year, probably.
No. Yeah, dude, how's it been not playing live music?
It's been fine, man. I mean, I think we played 3 shows. I needed a little bit of a break from it. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but you lose your inspiration when you're gigging every single weekend and it's all the same material. And, you know, there's just not a huge music scene here. Yeah. So a lot of it's just the small bar venues, which is fine. But we like playing the big outdoor events, you know, the Oktoberfests. And
you played down in Boise
downtown.
At the Boise Music
Festival? We played
Festival?
at the Boise Music Festival. That was an experience for sure. It was, that was cool. That was really cool. It's hard to know like what kind of momentum you actually get from those because there's so many good bands from all over the place. You know what I mean? But I'm hoping to go to Nashville this year actually and put together kind of a collection of songs I've written over the last 10 years. Have studio musicians brought in, all professionals, and put that together mainly just for it's my art, right? Yeah. And I want to leave it behind for my kids and family. If something were to happen, great, but. Yeah, not expecting it.
Well, dude, your voice is freaking killer, man. I'm shocked that you guys are not already. It's probably pretty challenging, though, because you guys all have careers, right?
We do, yeah.
And then you're trying to do this is what I call kind of the someday life, is like you kind of have these thoughts and these ambitions you want to do. And a lot of us don't follow it. So I give you props, man, for just putting together a band and following that passion.
Appreciate it.
Because it does, like you said, it just doesn't it fill you? I mean, it fills your soul, man. And it just kind of is like, hey, yes, you're taking on more time to practice and stuff like that, and it's kind of maybe time away from your family, but what it provides to you is like the podcast I did with Jennifer McCulloch. She talked about being selfishly you. Like sometimes we just gotta take care of ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah, how are you to serve anybody else, right? If you're not taking care of number one, for sure. And yeah, I'm with you. So when I'm in a let's just say this, the moments when I'm addicted to my guitar, and when I say addicted, I'm just practicing every day after work for 30 minutes or so, I'm just way more at ease. Yeah. You know what I mean? Life just isn't as hard. Kind of take the ebbs and flows. And so this year has been a little weird that way because I just, for whatever reason, kind of lost inspiration. And sometimes it's like, you've got to have like if you're wanting to get in shape, right? Sign up for a marathon because that will ensure that you're going to put the practice in so that you don't fail at that. And I think by not having gigs, we've just kind of not been practicing as much because we don't need to.
That thing to hold you accountable.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I love it, man. We're hopefully we'll see some new music this year and this COVID thing will let up. And
yeah, this COVID thing's been gnarly. I feel bad for creators and artists. But what's cool, again, like what we were talking about in the beginning, is they're adapting. I can't all the Facebook Live stuff that I watch now, or like YouTube, is beautiful for that because these artists will just record out of their house or outside, and like still, they still got to work on their craft, and then we get the benefit of that as the consumer, which is just super cool. Who's some of your favorite country music artists right now that you're listening to?
Oh man, I'm so bad at these kind of questions, man. Like I get asked, what are your favorite movies? What are your favorite books? And I'm just like, I like everything too much. It's hard to narrow it down to one. Chris Stapleton, though, for sure, is like, man, amen. I would say that that guy just takes my spine and just ravels it up. He turns me into mush, man. Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed my guitar over here in the corner.
I saw that. Yeah.
So that was, again, I bought that. I started when I was 22, 23. And then I met my wife and like started having a family, and I stopped doing it. But what I found for me at that time is that it let me decompress.
Sure.
Running, high anxiety all the time. And then I got away from it. Well, I've kind of had this pattern of anxiety and stuff going on. And last year, about a year and a half ago, I'm like, I need to go buy another guitar. Because I had stopped for pretty much 10 years.
Right.
Dude, and instantly. So now what I do is I could not play a song. Like I can play like Chris Stapleton. I can play like the intro to Tennessee Whiskey and just things that I don't have, with MTV, you had to pause it and see their fingers. Now I can just watch YouTube.
I'm trying to figure out if I really pause it. I've been telling that story for years, and now I'm thinking back to that
DVR
time. I don't think you could have paused it back
dude, but remember
then,
you could put the VHS tapes in?
Maybe I did something
record
like that.
some
I
stuff?
can't remember, but I remember being able to have a still image of the MTV music video, right? And seeing where they're putting their fingers at. And isn't that funny though, how you tell yourself the same thing over and over and over, and then you wonder, man, was it really like that? Like I've been telling the same story for years, that a couple of my first gigs that I played, I was so terrified. I mean, I'd puke before getting up and playing a song. And it was actually Michelle Zeal and Rich Hayjack, Happyville back in the day that were kind enough to let me do a couple songs during their show. But that I would basically turn around and not face the audience while I played. And it's been like, I don't know, a year ago, I was like, man, I've been telling people a lot. Did that really happen? Because that's what I was seeing in my head. And I ran into some of our biggest fans the other day. They're just wonderful people. And he said, man, it's just amazing to see how far you've come. I remember watching you on your first show. You had to turn your chair around. Couldn't even face the audience. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
It wasn't true. A lie. It's true. I wasn't making that up.
Yeah.
Man. But that's so cool, dude. I mean, you kept pushing through it. That has to be one of the hardest things. I mean, I think that's a lot of us think, oh, how would that be to be a rock star or a country singer? But, dude,
it's not.
Behind the scenes, it's probably insane.
It didn't come natural. And now it's my favorite thing to do, man, is get up there. The problem is I have to have a couple drinks in me sometimes to do anything like that. Yeah. And, there's been a couple times where we've gotten up on stage and been a little too loose. You know what I mean? Probably not said the right things up there. And and that's one of my failures with music is just, trying to get that liquid courage and then realizing that might have not been the best thing for that show, because it still is a paid, even though I don't do it for the money, somebody's paying us to be up there and entertain and still be politically correct for the town that we're playing in.
Yeah.
Right?
Try not to be too freaking polarizing and get
too much of a rock star.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Talk to me a little bit about the YMC partnering for Playground.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. A good friend of mine, Donovan Stokes, he's a children's director over at the Y. We were out. I ran into him, I don't know, I think around the holidays during Christmas, and I love getting into deep conversations with people. Everything's too surfacey these days, I feel like, right? True. So I'm really enjoying this. So he was just saying, one of his biggest goals since he's joined the Y is to build a new playground out there. I guess it's pretty dilapidated. I haven't been, so I'm not sure. And then to build a new fence around it. And I was like, let's just do it. Let's do it. He said, are you serious? I said, let's partner, man. We'll get some companies involved and we'll put
Make
together,
it happen.
put together what we need. And so he's working on estimates right now. We already, on their website, they've got a link that you can go donate. It says donate to the playground. It's right on the main page. Can I use my phone?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man.
I'm going to pull it up real quick.
This is not an interrogation, sir.
Just never know
Laid
the rules,
back.
Man. It looks like it's Idaho Falls YMCA.org.
Okay.
So we don't know yet. We're estimating maybe a $15,000 projection. I think it'll probably cost a little bit more than that. And we'll start getting some social content and some advertising out there for it. This is like super
groundbreaking. I mean, kind of the idea started around just like a month or two ago.
But I'd love to help him get there, man. He's a wonderful person, and he's just a guy that just gives back, and he's just a good guy. Yeah. Do you know him?
The name sounds familiar. I'm just trying to put a face. I'm really good at faces. If I see you.
After this, I'll show you a picture of him. Yeah, good guy. But if we could do that for the Y, I think that'd be great. And we're just always looking for a way to give back. This goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, that anxiety, right? I've operated out of anxiety for so long and just running and feeling like if I'm not moving, I'm failing.
Yeah.
So this year, within the last 6 months, I've been like, dude, it's time to just take a breather. Let's help some people out, serve a little bit, just do some things outside of real estate and music, and I'm excited for it.
One thing that I have enjoyed, and this is to the serving side of things, I've really been on this myself, and it's helped my personal journey. I'd say probably over the last 5 years, where I just in this giving mood. And I'll tell you what, man, and a lot of it, and I understand it's if you're listening to this and you're trying to make ends meet all the time and stuff like that, you don't have extra cash to spend here and there. I was in that mindset at one time as well. And I felt like I had to hang on to every single dollar. I couldn't give it to the homeless guy asking on the corner, or I'd see these cool GoFundMes, or people just needed money. And it's like, oh man, I need that money in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you from my experience over the last 5 years or so, just giving something changed my entire life, man. Right. Because what it did is it allowed me to I had this bubble of protection. Like I just need to take care of mine, Yeah. It was kind of like this selfish thing, but I think we get kind of trapped in it as individuals where you're just running and you have these blinders on and you're not looking at anything else. Especially if you have a family and kids and stuff, or wife and kids or a husband and kids, you're just like, go, 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 go. And you miss some of the small things because they're just flying past you, right?
Right.
But one of those small things for me that turned into a huge thing was the giving thing. It was, hey, I got some extra money. Even when I didn't, I remember the first time I gave a homeless guy some money, I gave him a $10 bill because I didn't have anything else. But I was telling myself that if I'm presented with this opportunity again, I'm going to give something.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I was like almost pissed that I gave him a $10 bill. I'm just like, oh. But now I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
Man. I'm so willing to freaking give some money and just wherever I can. I had a buddy that he didn't have any medical insurance or dental insurance and needed to get a tooth fixed. So he put a GoFundMe thing, and it was cool to see people like, hey, here's $10. Hey, here's $20. So
that
went on there
really quick. Man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I think we need to do more of those things, especially in our community, because a lot of us, nothing bothers me more than when I hear people complaining about something,
mm-hmm.
but they're doing nothing about it.
Right.
That is like one of my biggest pet peeves,
the whole
man.
Victim mentality, man. And when we're looking for people to bring onto our team, that's the one thing I look for, because I want problem solving. I want people that are team players, that are overly optimistic and solution based.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm with you. It's funny. Again, we're so much the same in the way that we kind of got started, but I think part of the reason that we're so in that lane and focused and we don't want to give anything away is because unless I guess maybe if you came for money, it might be a different story. But for me, it was like I might have been operating out of fear a little bit and scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's only so much. Like I got to go out and get mine before I can help anybody else. And the second I switched my mindset from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset and started just teaching, like I teach classes at Keller Williams all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do now. It terrified me early on, but I just love educating people. Like, here's how you go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because you're basically training your competition, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's every time I do that, something comes through my back door, right, that I never saw coming. So it's that manifestation, law of attraction, karma, Amen. Whatever you want to call it.
Amen.
And it's proven itself so many times in the last 5 years to me. I'm a true believer now.
Yeah, I'm a true believer of that too. And it's funny because I just stumbled into it. It wasn't something where I'm just like, hey, I was conscious of like, hey, I want to give more. But that same thing, man, I come from working on a ranch where money is tight all the time. It's a lifestyle. It's not, hey, I want to get rich and wealthy and retire.
Right.
It's not. It's 24/7 grind all the time. So I remember when I first started getting paid on the ranch by my grandparents was moving irrigation pipe. And we got paid 10 cents a pipe.
I moved pipe too. I remember it.
Dude, so I'm just like, every pipe I would put in there and I'd walk back to another one, just like 10 cents. So
trekking through that mud with your slosh boots.
Oh my gosh.
On,
and then
man,
when the crop got
heavy.
really tall, then it's like super tall up to your waist.
Yeah.
You're soaking wet.
Lifting those things, draining the water out of them. How much
them.
do you think those things weigh when they're full?
Well, when you get to the end of your line, right, those things are that end pipe is always full of water.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you're just like pulling on one end and you're just trying to get it downhill and
Yeah.
then go down there and lift it up and get it out.
Yeah.
And then through, they get clogged with mud and stuff there. Like as the water works through the irrigation pipes, guys, the mud just kind of jams up into the very last pipe. So sometimes you got to take off the end cap and just get it flushed out and stuff, man. But that was like an early morning thing, right? Because you got to change
4 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
roughly 4:35.
Yeah, I mean, I had hand lines that I would change, and then I worked for another farmer where I was doing like siphon tubes and just irrigating out of ditches.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I remember being 15 years old. I would never give this responsibility to a 15-year-old.
Right.
So he ran about 500 acres. And I was in control of irrigating that 500 acres at 15.
Oh my gosh, that's huge, yeah.
Dude, I had a shovel, boots, and he gave me a motorcycle to ride. So I just sit my ass on that shovel and just out just all over these crops all day. Dude, I started my first set would start at 4 or 5 in the morning,
mm-hmm.
and then I was going till about 10 o'clock at night. That's all I did I remember that was one summer that I did that, and I was just like, dude, this sucks.
Again, so similar, though. So 15 years old, wake up at 4 in the morning, go move pipe, and then come home, get ready, go to school,
yep.
and then come home and change and go to Garcia's. I was a busser over there for years.
Nice.
And close Garcia's out till 11, do all the responsibilities, go home and do it again. Now, that was burnout, right? That didn't last too long. I think I lasted 3 to 6 months doing that. But at an early age, just always, we didn't grow up on a farm by any means, but just had a work ethic, and it had to have come from my upbringing,
Yeah. It's funny how you don't appreciate things until you kind of see the fruition of them.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can understand that earlier on in life, and this is what I'm trying to manifest in my kids, is try to teach them lessons as soon as I can. And I mean, I don't know about you and how you operate as a parent, but I think we sometimes fail to give our kids credit for things. I feel like, or you maybe don't have certain conversations with them. I surely am one that's just I'm an open book with my kids
mm-hmm.
from a very young age, because I feel like they can absorb it, they can take it, they can listen to it, and they're only going to catch some of it. But I feel like I have this tendency to let me share all my life lessons with you,
mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to kind of space those out as they mature. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to talk to my kids. Like my 6-year-old, she understands how to save money, what a checking account is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just all the stuff that I was never taught. I'm just giving this all to my kids.
Yeah.
Right here, and then let them do what they want with it.
I need to take a page from your book on some of that, because I'm really good about instilling I don't know, just direction and consistency and what work ethic with my kids. Yeah. I need to check more into their lives and not be so, here's how you need to do it. Because I feel my dad in me all the time, right? And I hated that growing up. As good of a purpose as it served, I always wish he and I were better friends.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I want to focus on kind of moving forward, because my focus has been so much on building a business that I've completely lost balance with almost everything else. Yeah. And so just in the last year or so, that's been kind of my approach. I'm reading a book right now called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
Ooh,
and
I
love Jay Shetty. Yeah, and it's kind of helping me find my foundation again and kind of rebalance, and it's good.
That's awesome. Yeah. I heard this. I think it was Darren Hardy. I don't know if you know Darren Hardy.
I do. Well, not personally.
Yeah, not personally. But he's kind of Jim Rohn was his mentor, and anyways, he I read The Compound Effect, his book. Great book, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was in the book, or maybe it was a podcast he was doing. But he painted this perfect picture for me, and I share this with a lot of people, is, if you're juggling life, right? So if you're juggling, you got a bunch of rubber balls, right? One of them's a glass ball. The rubber balls are like your finances, your career, your hobbies, relationships, and the glass ball is your family.
Right.
And so as you're juggling these things, if one of those fall, maybe a friendship or money or career, it will bounce back up to you.
Sure.
But if you let the glass ball, it will just shatter on the ground.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And it really just, for me, is one of those things where you're like, wow, that really hit me hard.
Right.
And so that's what I think about all the time, is I got all these things I'm juggling all the time. But if I let that glass ball fall, which is my family,
Like
that's on me.
Yeah.
Like I can't let that one fall.
I think
all the other ones can.
I think it's important to point out too. We're probably getting close on time, aren't we?
Yeah, we're getting closer. We're all right.
All right. So my dad, he was a site worker, right? So he caught the bus at 6 a.m, didn't get home till 7, 8. So all my sporting events in junior high, I wasn't great at sports, but I tried. But he was unable to make it to almost every game, right? And I wanted to see him there so bad. So for me, as we were bringing up our oldest son, I wanted to be at every one of those events. Looking back on it, what's crazy is like your body can be somewhere, but it doesn't mean you're present.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so this whole time I thought I was being a great dad just by being at the games and of course cheering them on and whatnot. But in my head, I always had 50 things going on. And all this anxiety because I was missing calls and not getting back to people on time and building this business. So I think it's really important to say, don't just be there, but be there.
Be there.
Yeah.
Be mindful. Be present.
Exactly.
Man, that is a big one that I'm trying to work on.
Me too.
Because it's harder. Because I show up. See, I come from, my parents never went to one away game. I wrestled and played football, and those I was really good at those. Football I was really good at.
What positions did you play?
So I played defensive end, linebacker. I'd play center. On offense, I played left guard. So coming from a smaller school, come from a smaller school, and if you're an athlete, then you're playing both sides of the ball.
Gotcha.
Like I think I'm not exaggerating here. I think maybe my 4 years of high school, I set out maybe 4-5 plays.
Really?
And that was either due to like an injury. One time I got kicked out of the game because I didn't have hip pads in.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, I don't know. That's kind of a whole different topic. But that was a fun part. But that's one thing that I really missed is that my parents would come to a home game,
mm-hmm.
but never went to an away game.
Right.
And I'm not going to knock my parents for that. I don't know what they had going on or whatever.
Sure.
So I'm not going to hold them accountable for that. But it did mean a lot to me. And so I haven't missed one thing with my kids, but I do realize like if it's during the day and stuff, and then with the insurance business, it's the same thing. I can feel my phone's vibrating in my pocket.
Right.
And I know like when I come back, it's like I have to work that much harder.
Yeah.
It's like I got to go answer those calls, and then I got to deal with the person that's upset because I didn't get back to them.
Right.
And when you put yourself out there as a consultant, I mean, these people are expecting things, but one thing that changed my career was realizing that I can't be all things to all people because I was beating my head against the wall, like you're saying, man. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was so worried about all the small stuff. Finally, I just had to tell people like, hey, I was busy taking care of something else, but here I am now.
Right.
And like I had to kind of educate and coach my clients on how I kind of run my business. Mm-hmm. Not that I don't want to take care of you. I want to take care of you so much that I have to tell you that I need a break.
Sure.
Like, and I try getting them to understand that.
But if you can build the courage to actually do that, it's crazy how well people respond to that. Like, I'm sorry, but I spend time with my family from, 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. I'm taking weekends off now. But I think with those small things too, it's funny because I was operating at a really, really high level as an individual agent without an assistant. I think I was pushing 50, 60 transactions a year, which is like double what you probably should do without help or leverage. And I thought I was doing a great job at it. It wasn't until I started hiring people that I realized, holy cow, I thought I was delivering great customer service. There's no way I could have, right? Because when I'm in an appointment and I'm being really purposeful, so I don't check my phone during those appointments, I don't want the person I'm in front of to not think that they're important.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm getting back to these people right when I'm done with my appointment, but they have no clue what I'm doing. They don't know if I'm working or playing, and right. All they know is that I got back to them an hour after they called, and that's probably not great customer service.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of leveraging is huge, man. Take care of the 20% that means the most, or that's the most productive. Leverage out the other 80%.
I love that. That's cool. Well, Dave, look, man, we'll get wrapping this up. So I want to throw some money towards the YMCA partnering for Playground.
Awesome, man. You'll probably be our first donator. I haven't even dumped into it yet. You got to let me go first.
Okay, I'll let you go first.
I'm kidding.
But no, if you're listening to the podcast or you're watching it on YouTube, David talked about the website there earlier in the podcast. So jump on there, $5, $10, $15, $20. I mean, if we can all throw in a little bit of money, that would be freaking fantastic that allow us to get these kids a playground. And I have been there. My kid started out the YMCA, and I'm just like, I almost feel, I felt like kind of shameful that this needs to be a bigger, better staple in our community.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's IdahoFallsYMCA.org on the main page. Just click the playground donation. I think there might be a QR code there too. But no, I appreciate you having me on, man. I gotta commend you. This kind of stuff is not easy to start, right? I mean, you said earlier before we started, there's like 850,000 podcasts since 2017 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's tough to start anything where you feel like you're entering a world as a needle in a haystack. Mm-hmm. So, dude, way to go. Love the logo.
Yeah.
I think you're doing great things, and I think that your listeners, they've got to appreciate it, because as long as you keep having people on that are going to kind of open up, you know, who they are, what they've done to accomplish big things. Mm-hmm. I mean, how can it go wrong? You're helping people, right? So.
Yeah, that's the idea, man. And I want to keep creating, and that's always a thing that you're kind of up against, is like, okay, you know, this takes time and energy. Like all the behind the scenes takes a lot of hours. You know, I'm doing 10, 15 hours of this on top of what I'm doing during the week. Mm-hmm. And so, it would be great to get to that point where you could like somehow monetize it to where you can keep creating the content and putting it out there. And so, look, man, I look at it this way. Life is too short to wait for your someday.
Right.
You know, that's kind of the sum of it. Is it's just kind of like you going to Nashville and stuff like that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know for damn sure what's going to happen if you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing.
You
know, and I get it. We all have jobs. We all, you know, we have kids. We're all busy, but I'm telling you right now, if I can do it coming from the place that I came from, I guarantee you millions more can do it. Million times better than I can.
And millions of people are, right? I mean, you constantly see new influencers and YouTubers and product designers and people that are launching businesses left and right, whether it's tech or whatever else. Mm-hmm. There's always space. Always space. Yeah. And if I could, man, I just want to. Can I thank my people and my world?
I was just gonna get to that. I was gonna say, dude, how can people get a hold of you if they got real estate questions? They're thinking about selling a house. We didn't cover the real estate investing thing. I really wanted to
next time
kind of touch base.
Have me on again.
That's something that
with you.
I really want to get into more and figure out how that whole thing works. But
dude, I set a goal 5 years ago to buy one investment property every single year for 5 years. I had no clue that Post-it note on my wall would take me to 10 properties in less than that time. So again, it's just all about taking action. But no, I just first of all, I want to thank my team, man. Right? I mean, they're incredible. I couldn't do it without them for sure. We're operating at a really high level. I think I told you we're like top 1% in the Northwest region or something like that for sales and production. But our clients have just been amazing. I mean, we've got a good referral base. They continue to support us, and
that's awesome.
We wouldn't be here without them. So I think it's important that we give them a shout out.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Thanks for the swag.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
I think we'll give some of these away.
Yeah.
Dave brought some swag for us, so we'll give some of these guys away for you. Some of the listeners, maybe on Facebook or Instagram. So Nelson Group Real Estate. How can people find you, man?
Yeah, so we've got a couple websites. We've got roadtosold.com or Shop IF as in Idaho Falls, shopifhomes.com.
Okay.
They can call me 208-227-5346. Of course, we're on all social platforms, but I'm an easy guy to find.
Heck yeah. So, yeah. And so I'll be putting Dave's stuff in the podcast notes as well. So if you want to hit him up on Facebook or Instagram, check out his band County Line. It's freaking awesome. So give those guys a follow on Facebook.
Yeah, County Line. Our first album was Road to Redemption. So if you go on Spotify, Amazon Music, any of those, County Line, Road to Redemption, it'll pull our first EP.
I think my favorite song is that Pipe Dream?
Pipe Dream's one of them.
Pipe Dream,
that's a good
dude.
Song.
That's a dope song.
So that's actually about pursuing music.
Yeah, well,
rather than real estate.
I listened. I'm like, man, I can just listen to it. And I remember the first time when I listened to it, I went back through it 2 or 3 times because I have a tendency of like catching the beat first. Like the first time around, I'm like,
same way. Catch the hook, right?
Yeah, I catch the hook, and I'm just like, all right, cool. And then I got to go back through the song and then start hearing the lyrics and stuff. And then I just go back through it a couple times,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, dude, this is a freaking dope song.
Pipe dream is when I hit that fork in the road. Had I have taken music rather than real estate, what would that have looked like? So
hell yeah.
And it was a pipe dream, but
cool, Dave. Thanks, brother.
Hey, my
I
pleasure.
appreciate
man.
it,
Thank
man.
you.
We'll get out of here.
'Kay.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you again.